Newcastle are dropping bids to sign new players. So from Newcastle United submitting a €35 million offer in Spain, to a Sky Sports exclusive as Newcastle submit massive offer to beat Premier League rivals to exciting signing. We'll also reveal the shock move Newcastle have done to their academy. As per, join us as we'll break it all down and discuss the latest Newcastle United transfer news.
Let's go!
So starting off, Newcastle United are reportedly stepping up their pursuit of Osasuna winger Victor Munoz, with fresh reports from Spain claiming the Magpies have already submitted a formal offer for the highly rated attacker. The 22-year-old has emerged as one of the standout young wide players in La Liga, following an impressive debut season at Osasuna. After joining from Real Madrid in the summer of 2025, Munoz quickly established himself as a key figure, contributing 7 goals and 5 assists in 36 appearances across all competitions. His performances have not gone unnoticed. According to journalist Jose Alvarez, Newcastle have now tabled a bid worth €35 million plus bonuses, a package that reportedly takes the overall value of the deal close to the player's €40 million release clause. The move comes as Newcastle continue planning for life after Anthony Gordon, whose departure has left a major gap on the left side of Eddie Howe's attack. Munoz is viewed as one of the leading candidates to fill that void, and reports suggest Newcastle have presented the Spaniard with a highly attractive contract offer. Perhaps most encouragingly for Newcastle supporters, the player is said to be open to the move. The prospect of regular first-team football and a prominent role in Howe's plans has reportedly convinced Munoz that St James Park could be the ideal next step in his career. However, Newcastle's hopes of completing the deal may ultimately depend on Real Madrid. When Osasuna signed Munoz last year, Los Blancos retained 50% of the player's economic rights and inserted a buyback clause into the agreement. As a result, any transfer now requires Real Madrid to decide whether they wish to bring the winger back themselves or allow the sale to proceed. That uncertainty currently represents the biggest obstacle in Newcastle's pursuit. Should Real Madrid decline to activate their buyback option, Newcastle would be free to continue negotiations with Osasuna, although Madrid would still receive a significant portion of the transfer fee due to the sell-on arrangement. The situation has become even more intriguing because reports in Spain suggest a final decision from Real Madrid may not arrive until after the club's presidential elections on June 7th. Until then, Newcastle may be forced to remain patient despite their desire to move quickly. From a footballing perspective, Munoz appears to fit many of the characteristics Newcastle are seeking this summer. He is young, versatile, technically gifted, and already producing strong numbers in a major European league. His ability to beat defenders one-on-one, combined with his direct running and attacking instincts, would add another dimension to Newcastle's forward line. The fact that Sunderland previously failed with an approach in January also highlights how highly both the player and Osasuna value his development. At the time, offers below his release clause were not considered sufficient, and his stock has only risen since then. With 4 years remaining on his contract and growing interest across Europe, Newcastle know this will not be a straightforward deal. Even so, the reported €35 million offer represents one of the strongest indications yet that the club see Munoz as a serious target rather than merely another name on a scouting shortlist. Whether the transfer ultimately happens may now depend less on Newcastle and more on what Real Madrid decide to do next. For now, the Magpies appear to be pushing hard, and this is rapidly becoming one of the most interesting transfer stories of their summer. Then, Newcastle United have reportedly intensified their pursuit of highly rated AIK youngster Zadok Johanna, with the Magpies now locked in a three-way battle involving Brighton and Chelsea for one of Scandinavia's most exciting teenage prospects. The story developed rapidly on Thursday after Sky Germany journalist Florian Plettenberg revealed that Newcastle had entered the race with serious intent, despite Brighton already having a verbal agreement in place with the player. According to Plettenberg, Brighton remain in direct negotiations with AIK and have not abandoned hope of completing the transfer. The Seagulls are understood to have reached a full verbal agreement with Johanna regarding personal terms, but that has not stopped Newcastle from attempting to hijack the move. In fact, Newcastle's interest appears to have progressed significantly in a very short period of time. Plettenberg later reported that Newcastle had submitted the strongest offer currently on the table to AIK, believed to be worth around £20.7 million. That figure has reportedly placed Eddie Howe's side in the driving seat from the Swedish club's perspective, even if the player's future remains far from decided. Just when it appeared to be developing into a straight battle between Newcastle and Brighton, another major Premier League club entered the picture. Chelsea have now joined the race and are exploring a move of their own for Johanna. The London club's recruitment strategy has become heavily focused on acquiring elite young talent from across the world, and the teenager is understood to be the latest player to attract their attention. Despite Chelsea's arrival, Newcastle remain in the strongest position financially, with Plettenberg stating that the Magpies' proposal remains the highest received by AIK so far. The complication for Newcastle is that transfers are not always decided by transfer fees alone. Brighton still hold a significant advantage thanks to their existing agreement with the player. The Seagulls have built a strong reputation for developing young talent and providing a clear pathway into first-team football, something that may appeal strongly to Johanna as he weighs up his next career move. Newcastle, meanwhile, are hoping the opportunity to join a club with ambitious long-term plans under Eddie Howe can persuade the youngster to reconsider his current agreement and head to Tyneside instead. From Newcastle's perspective, the pursuit makes plenty of sense. Ross Wilson has repeatedly stressed the importance of lowering the squad's average age and investing in emerging talent capable of becoming first-team players in the future. Johanna appears to fit that profile perfectly. The fact Newcastle are willing to commit over £20 million for a teenager also demonstrates just how highly the club's scouting department rates his potential. At this stage, the transfer appears to be a fascinating tug-of-war between club preference and player preference. AIK are believed to favour Newcastle's superior financial package, while Brighton continue to rely on the understanding they have already reached with Johanna and his representatives. Chelsea's late involvement adds another layer of uncertainty and could yet influence proceedings if they decide to push aggressively for the deal. The 18-year-old Nigerian winger has enjoyed a breakthrough campaign in Sweden, registering 5 goals and 4 assists in just 12 appearances for AIK. Those numbers are impressive on their own, but become even more remarkable when considering his age and relative inexperience at senior level. Despite Chelsea's arrival, Newcastle remain confident they can make a compelling case. The club's recruitment team clearly views Johanna as a player with elite long-term potential, rather than simply another academy addition. That belief is understandable when looking at his performances this season. Johanna is already producing consistently at first-team level and possesses the pace, direct dribbling ability and attacking output that Newcastle have been lacking in wide areas. The comparison many supporters will immediately make is with Yankuba Minte. Newcastle identified Minte's talent before he exploded onto the European scene, only for financial pressures to force the club into selling him before he could make an impact at St James Park. Since then, Brighton have benefited enormously from his development. Missing out on Johanna to Brighton could create a similar feeling. With Anthony Gordon's no longer at the club, and Newcastle needing to lower the average age of the squad while remaining mindful of financial restrictions, signing high-ceiling talents has become increasingly important. Players like Johanna represent exactly the type of investment that could provide huge value both on the pitch and financially in the years ahead. Brighton still appear to have the edge because of their existing agreement with the player, but Newcastle's willingness to submit the highest bid shows just how highly they rate him. The coming days could prove decisive, but one thing is becoming clear. Newcastle are pushing hard to ensure that another elite young winger does not slip through their fingers. For now, Newcastle have done everything they can from a financial standpoint. Whether that will be enough to overturn Brighton's head start remains the key question, with a final decision expected in the near future. Then, in a massive turn of events, Newcastle United have confirmed the departure of 7 academy players this summer, with Alfie Harrison the most notable name among those being released. Harrison arrived on Tyneside with significant expectations after being recruited from Manchester City's academy. At the time, many supporters viewed the midfielder as one of the club's most exciting youth additions, with hopes that he could eventually break into Eddie Howe's first-team plans. The 20-year-old showed glimpses of his potential during a handful of appearances in pre-season friendlies, but he was ultimately unable to make the breakthrough many had anticipated. Despite the excitement surrounding his arrival, his development stalled, and Newcastle have now decided to part ways with the youngster as part of their annual academy review. Joining Harrison on the list of departures is Kieran Thompson, another player once highly regarded within the club's youth ranks. Thompson had been with Newcastle since the age of 13 and fulfilled a lifelong dream when he made his senior debut during the club's controversial post-season friendly against Tottenham Hotspur in Australia back in 2024. Goalkeepers Adam Harrison and James Taylor have also been released, alongside striker Joe Brayson, winger Darren Palmer, and defender Thomas Bryant. While being released by a club is always a difficult moment for any young footballer, it is also a reminder of just how challenging the journey to senior football can be. Talent alone is rarely enough. Progression depends on development, consistency, mentality, opportunity, and sometimes simply being in the right place at the right time. For Newcastle, these decisions underline the increasingly important role the academy plays in the club's long-term strategy. Financial regulations continue to place restrictions on transfer spending, making the production of homegrown talent more valuable than ever. Players such as Lewis Miley have demonstrated the benefits of investing in youth development, while the success of academy graduates can also provide significant financial flexibility. That reality means difficult decisions have to be made every summer. Clubs must be ruthless when assessing which players are likely to reach first-team level and which are not. Releasing a player is not necessarily a reflection of a lack of talent, but rather a judgment on whether they are expected to make the leap required at Premier League level. Some supporters have questioned whether Harrison's departure reflects poorly on Newcastle's academy system, particularly given the excitement that surrounded his arrival from Manchester City. However, it may be too early to draw that conclusion. Youth development is rarely straightforward, and many players released by top academies go on to enjoy successful careers elsewhere. Ultimately, Harrison's next move could provide the real answer. If he finds the right environment and fulfills the potential many once saw in him, questions will inevitably be asked. Until then, Newcastle will believe they have made the decision that best serves both the player and the club's long-term plans. For now, Harrison and the 6 other departing youngsters leave with the best wishes of Newcastle supporters as they look to continue their careers elsewhere and pursue the dream of professional football. And then finally, if you would want to know the massive agreed deal, Newcastle have just announced, click the video link on screen now.